Morning, folks. Another installment on my review of the Red Book of Magic. GM concerns. Okay, so part 2 of M spells. Meld form. It's a new one. The cultist. Okay, this spell is rituals. Must be cast or cast whenever a cultist sacrifices for the Proteus spell. Okay, that's on page 70. We'll get to that later. Okay, so a living creature, right, is involved. It must be provided. Takes 6 hours for the ritual. And at the end of the ritual, there's this magical fog. It's opaque. You can't see through it. It blocks all senses, including magic. And it envelopes both the supplicant, the cultist doing the sacrifice, right, and the animal. The fog lasts for half an hour. When it dissipates, the creature has vanished, and the supplicant gains the ability to turn into the creature when they use or cast the Proteus spell. So that's the connection. Here's sacrificing the creature, the Proteus spell allows you to turn into it. That's cool. I like that. It's a mobility spell. I'm not sure who gets this one. Okay. Any living creature can be used unless it has no power or its size is not permanent. So you can't turn it into like a dryad or a naiad or something. Or a ghost. Why do they use ghosts? Ghosts have power. They don't have size at all. Maybe that's why. Okay. Mind Blast. Old spell, right? Okay. Overcome the target's power, reduces intelligence to 0. Apparently this is an exception to when a stat goes to 0, you die. And it lasts for as many days as half the caster's power. So if you got a power of 10, it lasts for 5 days. The target is in a vegetative vegetative state, and it cannot be dispelled. But we don't talk about it overcoming defensive spells like counter magic. I would assume the normal rules apply. If the caster achieves a special success when overcoming the target's power, that phrase is exactly what we need to have back over here in Madness when it says the attack. Yeah, Madness, the attack, caster's attack. No, it is the caster achieving those levels of success in overcoming the target's power. I will use that in the Madness spell. Okay, I should actually put a note in Madness about that. Okay, if you get a special success with this spell, in overcoming the power. You also do damage to the target's head. 1d6 plus 2. That is significant. Okay. Armor doesn't protect, but magic protection does. Okay, good to go. All right. Mind Bridge. Another new one. Mind-to-mind transmission of conscious thoughts between two people. They can be no further apart than 1,000 meters per point. I'm assuming that's stacked rune points of the spell. More than two people cannot be linked. And so if you are a target of a mind bridge, so you're connected with somebody else, and somebody else casts a mind bridge on you, you get the choice. The target gets the choice of which mind bridge stays up because one of them has fallen. Whether it's one that was just cast or the one that was cast before. Because only two. They say the other instance of the spell ending, and I'm assuming that's probably just a vocabulary difference between here and the continent. Okay. Again, only communication, no magic points, no spell knowledge. Okay, Mind Read. Old spell. Overcome the power of the target. It's an active spell. You're able to read the conscious thoughts without target's consent, although the target can tell somebody's in their head, right? I've used this a couple times in my game, and it was used for interrogation. You're asking questions about the guy, and if I were to ask you about the last place you had breakfast, visions of that would come to your mind. Is that unconscious thoughts or are those conscious thoughts? And at what point does it change? When you actually start to focus on those pictures? Yeah, that's kind of kind of wibbly wobbly, timey wimey there. Okay, mist cloud, another old one. It's a bubble of natural looking mist, 2 meters in diameter for every room point stacked. Visibility within or through the mist is limited to just 1 meter. That's 2 meters, so you can only see halfway, right? It's a bubble. Now, most bubbles I've seen are basically spherical in shape, but it kind of wiggles and wobbles with its movement and with the air currents and stuff. Although since you can't really move it, it's kind of targeted on a place. Probably a person. I would travel if the person was limited. Okay, but anyway, the idea is you can form the sphere, form the bubble to encircle an opponent and thus blind him, right? Because you can only see 1 meter and it goes 1 meter in every direction around him. Unless you go bigger. Further. Okay, new spell, Mold Rock. Turns your hands into hammers, chisels, and files and can shape rock into appropriate shapes. Can even shape properly prepared true stone or adamant. Now, I don't know what properly prepared means, but I could have swore that true stone and adamant was the same thing. Like adamant was some kind of prepared true stone. And the only reference I had in my head was Apple Lane. Spoilers! But it doesn't say true stone in Apple Lane, at least the copy I've got from the second edition printing, whatever it is. That would be third edition printing. It says it's made of adamant. So I'm not sure. I tried looking adamant up and searching all my PDFs. And it's referenced in the Guide to Glorantha a couple times, but she says, this thing of adamant, this thing of adamant. So, I don't know. But in order to do true stone or adamant, you also have to successfully cast divine intervention. Same time. Another instance of being able to cast more than one rune spell at once. Okay, morale, old spell. Emotion affecting spell, hour-long ritual, the caster and the regiment. Spell affects the target. Isn't the target the regiment? Apparently not, because it says the spell affects the target and their entire regiment. So you're casting on the commander of the regiment and just affects the regiment, I guess. And it just kind of, I don't know. I would just, target is the regiment. How I would do it. Okay, so the regiment then is prevented from routing in battle, and it increases every affected warrior's chance to hit by half again. This is huge for how many people get to cast this thing on. Okay, and it lasts until either sunrise or sunset, whichever comes first. Interesting. Okay, Molder, another new spell. Causes a mushroom, mildew, mold, smut, rust, slime, or other fungus to infest a suitable object. Now, I'm not a mycologist, so I don't really know what a suitable object is. But the spell goes on to describe a single animal or tree, or 1 square meter of grasses, ground cover, or stone, or cloth. Pretty much sounds to me like anything. Stacking this spell with rune points increases the number of targets or the area affected. Good to go. Mountain Leap, another new spell. Summons a mountain wind, often in the form of a giant ram, that carries the caster to the top of a sacred mountain. Caster must have a clear idea of which mountain their peak they're going to, or the wind will simply take you to the closest. This is random. A random high mountain. I would say the closest high mountain. But that's just me. Okay. Now, which could be in another land, so maybe closest isn't the way to do it. Okay. The entire trip never takes more than a few minutes. For each rune point stacked with the spell, an additional person may accompany the caster. This is a one-way trip. Okay, multi-spell, old spell. Stackable. That'll come into play here. This common spell allows the caster to cast 2 spirit magic spells at once. These are resolved as separate attacks. The only exception to this separate attacks thing, and I guess that means separate rolling, maybe? I hadn't thought about that. We cast your multi-spell, and then we're casting slow on 2 different people. You would have to have 2 separate casts. Oh, if you did your single power roll, which one gets affected? Maybe both. That gets really complicated. Okay, so it says here the only exception to this is the disruption spell, which can be combined with itself. So if you cast 2 disruptions, instead of casting, well, you could still cast it 2 people. If you're casting it 1 guy, instead of rolling for 2 different locations, it's the 1 location, you take 2d3 damage. My baboons were using this, but I failed to stack. Okay, because if they would have stacked, they would have been doing 3 or 4d3 to individual locations. That would have started taking the players out. Okay, this spell affects all spells cast by the caster for the duration. Another thing I had not thought about. It lasts for 15 minutes. You cast it once, and for 15 minutes you're multi-spelling left and right. Every round you can throw 2 spirit magic points, or if you stack it, 3 or 4 or 5, that kind of thing. Okay, it goes on to explain you can cast 2 different spells at the same time, which is kind of the defined thing here, because we only made the exception for the disruption earlier. And this probably should have been put up front. Do the exception after this. Okay. The multi-spell can be used to cast 2 different spells at the same time, or cast spells at 2 different targets. This spell, multi-spell, doesn't decrease magic point cost. You still have to fully fuel everything. It does not override the usual limitations on how much a various spell can be used. And when I read that, I assumed, okay, you can't cast 2 Blade Sharp 2s on the same object and get a Blade Sharp 4. Yeah, roger that. Good to go. But it also says it cannot be used to cast incompatible spells on the same target. Okay, makes sense. Good to go. Then they give you an example. Multi-spell cannot be used to create a single arrow with Speed Dart 2 on it. Speed Dart is not variable. You cannot cast a Speed Dart 2, period. Neither is it incompatible with itself, I think, sort of. So I'm not sure why they use Speed Dart here. Because that would make Speed Dart a variable spell, and it doesn't do that. Okay. But it does say, cannot put counter magic and protection on the same. Are counter magic and protection incompatible? I didn't even think about checking that earlier, guys. I am sorry. I didn't read through that piece again very well. COU, counter chaos. Oh, counter magic's a spirit magic spell. Okay, counter magic. Yeah. This spell is incompatible with protection, shimmer, and spirit screen. Interesting, but I can kind of see that. Okay. Attacking with the multi-spell is the highest rank of the spell. So if you got a 4-point spell and a 2-point spell, both go off with the 4-point spell. Okay. And here we go. Finally, each point stacked in the multi-spell, 1 additional spirit magic spell can be combined. The missile spell 2 casts 3 spirit magic spells, or disruption 3. Yeah. And maybe that's where they're getting that speed art thing, where we were talking about disruption stacking with itself, but speed art and other non-variable spells do not. Interesting. Okay. That's it. That's the end of the M spells. Happy gaming.